be making the king of charcuterie, a prosciutto crudo, which is a bone-in, raw, dry-cured ham that many people consider to be the absolute best thing in dried meats. And it's a surprisingly simple recipe. You just need one whole pig leg, salt, and a lot of patience. Okay, now before we can actually turn this beautiful ham into a prosciutto, there are a few things I need to talk about with you. Number one, you want to get the freshest ham possible, no more than 5 days past slaughter. Two, you really want to get a ham from a pig that was allowed to pasture and forage for its own food. It produces more fat, and this thick layer of fat around the side is key in making a prosciutto. It allows for longer hanging times of the leg. And third, it's best to get a leg from a heritage breed pig. This particular ham is from a Berkshire pig, which we can hang for up to 2 years due to that thick layer of fat under the skin. A couple other good points: when you get your ham, you want to make sure you keep it as cold as possible without it actually freezing. And this goes so far as to even chilling your salt beforehand so it doesn't raise the surface temperature of the pig. In terms of your salt, you really want to stay away from iodized salt. And you really want to go towards a flaky salt, like a sea salt or a kosher salt, because it will stick better to the meat during the salting process. Now, in any charcuterie, the name of the game is to remove as much moisture, replacing with salt, as quickly as possible before that moisture can start to cause rot. Now, on a small piece of meat, that's not really that difficult, but with a large 30-pound ham like here, we do need to go through a few extra steps before we can actually start salting. And the first is going to be to remove the H-bone, which is the hip bone after it's been cut in half, and that's this bone right here. To remove the bone, start with an injection cut using a sharp boning knife. Run the knife along the contours of the bone without going too deep. Eventually you will start to expose the ball joint and 2 tendons, a small one at the center of the joint and a main one underneath the femur, which hold the hip joint together. Both of these need to be severed, and afterwards the bone should be easy to cut loose. Alright, so next we're going to clean up any loose tags of meat or flaps where moisture could collect and salt wouldn't be able to get to. I'm also not going to remove any more skin, but I am going to remove this layer of fat here to expose the meat. After trimming, press out any remaining blood from the femoral artery by moving your hand along the femur on top of the ham. Blood can contain pathogens that can sour the meat, but even if it does not, there's still excess moisture that is best to remove. Start salting by rubbing in as much salt as you can around the ball joint. This is the most likely spot where the ham could sour, so it is important to thoroughly salt this area. Afterwards, generally rub salt onto all of the exposed meat and finish by pressing salt into the exposed hock portion of the leg. When you are finished, it is time to move on to the basement. Our last step today will be to cover the leg with salt, place a sheet tray with 8 to 10 pounds of weight on top of the ham, and store the leg uncovered in refrigeration for 5 days. After 5 days, remove the leg, discard any damp salt, resalt and place back into refrigeration with 30 to 40 pounds of weight on top. You should flip the leg every 3 to 4 days now and cover the salting chamber at this point. The leg must remain in salt for anywhere from a half a day to 2 days per pound, with longer periods resulting in a saltier prosciutto. Most choose 1 day per pound, but I am opting for 3/4 a day per pound. See you in 21 days.